Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. Today I have for you a quick and simple fun fold card technique. Sometimes fun fold sounds like you're going to have lots and lots of folding and different things to do with a card, but that's not always the case. This is a wonderfully simple technique, which is a great way to use up small strips of designer series paper, but it's quick and easy to assemble and easy to mass produce as well. So here's the card, and the only thing that makes it a fun fold is a small change in the front of the card itself. So here's a quick peek where simply I cut a strip of the front of the card off in order to showcase a piece of designer series paper that I glued on the side. So quick and simple, nothing to the fun fold at all, but just a little something different for your card design. So we'll go ahead and make this, and you don't need a lot of supplies. The first thing you're going to need is a piece of cardstock that is 4 1/4 inches by 11. For this style of card, you do need the long, skinny card base. And so the first thing we're going to do, this is a piece of soft succulent cardstock, one of my favorite colors. You will need a paper trimmer scoring tool. We're going to take our card base and turn it so the 11-inch side is at the top. And the first thing we're going to do is slide it into the 5 1/2 mark and score it. Now what we want to do is just take 1 inch off the card front. You can cut it however you want. I'm going to kind of do mine upside down because it's easier for you to see. But I'm going to take the short side of my cardstock, line it up at 1 inch, and I'm going to move my cutting blade up to the top. And what I'm going to do is use my cutting blade to just cut down to the score line. I don't want to cut the whole card, just to the score line here that I can see. And I can also use the measurement markings on the side of my cutting arm to go down to the 5 1/2 mark as well. And if you're not familiar with our paper trimmer, the other really handy thing is it has hash marks on all 4 sides of your cutting blade, so I can really easily see that that cutting blade is going to line up with the score line on my card. It's my favorite style of paper trimmer. So now I've created this little flap here, but obviously I want that to be taken off. So I'm going to put my cardstock back in and line it up to 5 1/2. Make sure my cutting blade is back up at the top, and then I'm simply going to bring it down 1 inch to where my cut line is here. Err on the side of caution. That way you don't cut too far into your card base. And then what you can do is fold your card in half. This piece you can save if you want or recycle it. And then here is my card base already ready to go. So hopefully those directions made sense. Next step, we're going to take a piece of designer series paper. This is 1 1/4 inches wide by 5 1/2 inches tall. And I believe it is from the Boughs of Holly designer series paper pack that is in our brand new holiday mini catalog. It just came out in early July. If you do not have a demonstrator that you are currently working with and you would like paper copies of either our annual catalog or our holiday mini, please feel free to get in touch with me and I would be happy to send you one. You can also check out my website if you are an online shopper at thefaithfulstamper.stampinup.net and check out all the goodies that are there. We have a clearance rack too. If you haven't checked that out, you can usually get some good deals there. So next up, we're going to take this strip of designer series paper and we're going to glue it here on the right side of the card. Now for this part, you do not need any special adhesive, really for this entire card. It just depends on what you're decorating it with, and I'll explain that in a minute. But I have some Stampin' Seal Plus. This is my favorite tape runner adhesive that we have. It is my go-to adhesive. Now I'm going to turn my card base sideways to work with here. And I'm going to line it up with basically the middle corner here where I've cut the little panel off, because it's easier to trim any excess off at the bottom than try to finagle it in here with this little angle. if that makes sense. So I just match my corners up and then run it straight down the side and give it a good press. And you want to go just shy of that score line so that when you fold the card shut, you're not bending any of the designer series paper. I'll do a quick check, and there's hardly any here, but if you have any overhang, just grab your paper snips and trim it off. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is take a very narrow strip of cardstock. This is Evening Evergreen, and it is 1/2 inch wide by 5.5 inches tall. And we're just creating an accent here between the card front and the designer series paper. So I'm going to show you a trick that I like to use when I'm dealing with narrow pieces of cardstock and glue of any kind. We have this wonderful silicone craft mat. I love it because it's easy to clean. You can run it under warm water, put a little soap on it, then dry it off. But for anything sticky or anytime you need to protect your work surface, I definitely don't want glue here because then it would stick to every other card that I make. So I'm going to use my silicone mat to protect my craft table. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lay my card open and very carefully take my, actually I'm not going to use my tape runner for this. I'm going to use some liquid glue. And the rule of thumb my friend Jody taught me is dot, dot, not a lot, because you don't need a lot of glue. You don't want it smushing out everywhere. But I'm just going to put a very thin line of glue here, maybe. Here we go. Close enough to that seam, since it's just a narrow strip of paper. Whoop. We'll see if I got a little too crazy with the glue. I'm going to start from the score line on the inside to line this up. Whoop. Ooh, it was close with the glue. And then press that down. And let's see. I'm just going to grab a little sponge here that I'm going to show you what I'm going to use it for in a minute and dab off a little bit of extra glue. Just like that. All right. So you can see how that cardstock is going to create that border. So I'm going to let this dry for just a minute. But you can see no glue there. So to continue with the card front, I have a strip of designer series paper that is 1 1/4 inches tall by 4 inches wide. This is actually not the reverse side of that tree paper. That was another card I used. This is another piece that is from that same Boughs of Holly stamp set, designer series paper. So I want to create a banner. And maybe some of you have a gift that I do not have, but I cannot take a pair of scissors and notch a strip of paper like this and create a banner with even ends to save my life. So I hope nobody ever asks. So I'm going to cheat, and I'll show you a little cheat that I use sometimes. I am actually going to take one of the die cuts from our Stylish Shapes die set. I highly recommend it if you've got a die cutting machine because it has some basic shapes with this lovely stitching design on it. We have banners in 4 sizes, and there are also circles and squares. You're going to see one of the circles in a moment. But what I like to use this one for is, look, it's a banner. And while I don't want to cut the entire banner out because I want one of the ends to be square, I can kind of cheat and take this and line it up because it's just about the same width as my paper. Take a pencil. It's like going back to school when you used to trace shapes, right? And I'm going to grab some scissors and just trim right on my pencil line. And look, I've got a banner edge, and you're the only one knows that I cheated. So, all right. So this banner we are going to glue to the front of the card. The one thing I want to keep in mind when I'm putting my banner on is it overhangs the edge of my card front since I trimmed part of it off. So just be careful where you place your glue. I'm just going to use maybe 2.5, 3 inches of that surface to put glue on. I'm going to line it up on the edge here. And then if I did it right, yay! I don't have any glue here, so the card will still function. Now I want to show you another tip to use your silicone mat for. This is handy if you're working with some intricate images if you have a die cutting machine. You can always use adhesive sheets and run your die cut through with your cardstock and the adhesive on the back, but sometimes I struggle, particularly on camera, with pulling out all these little pieces. So I wanted to show you another way that you can do this. So I die cut the solid base to my tree. This is from our tree lot dies. It's one of our celebration items if you're watching in July or August 2022. You can check out our celebration event on my Facebook page, my website. It is a wonderful opportunity to get free goodies when you order with us. You get a free gift from a special brochure with any $50 or $100 product purchase. So we have our tree lot dies that are part of that celebration event. And what I'm going to do is take my solid tree and add this beautifully detailed tree image on top. Isn't that gorgeous? But if you look, this is really, really intricate and very narrow, and there's no way I can run a tape runner on that or even dot glue. I could maybe use our fine tip glue, but I wanted to show you another idea using our silicone mat. I'm going to take our Tombow glue, our green multi-purpose glue, and just add a little pile there to the corner of my mat. And then I'm going to go to this sponge that you saw me use a minute ago to get that extra glue off the front of my card. I am simply going to dab the glue on my sponge, kind of spread it out a little bit, and then dab all over the back of this intricate image. And the great part about it is I'm getting the glue coverage that I need. You can see it's sticking to my finger already. I'm not messing up my work table. I don't have piles of glue everywhere. I can simply now place this on my die cut. There we go. On that solid image, whoop, there goes the glue sponge. And look, I don't have glue everywhere. I can put that right on my card front, and all I have to do with this is take it over to my sink and wash it off, and I'm good to go for my next project. So just a handy little tip for you if you need to glue any intricate images on a more solid shape, in case you're not familiar. So now what I'm going to do to finish the card front is I have one of the circles from the Stylish Shapes die set. I have to say that slowly because it's a tongue twister. This is the second largest circle. I have Evening Evergreen ink. And my stamp tonight is Thank You from our Good Feelings stamp set. Now this is red rubber cling, so you can see it's red rubber and it clings to my block, and it's got built-in foam already. Can you see that? So I don't need a cushion under the red rubber cling stamp. I'm going to tap gently in my ink pad. Don't do CPR on your stamps. Tap gently. You can take a look and say, oh, you know, I might need a little more ink, or no, I think I have enough. And then just press gently, 1, 2, 3, and lift up, and you're good to go. You do not want to sink your stamps into your ink pad. I know that's kind of our immediate thought, is you want to definitely get a lot of ink coverage on your stamps, but then you'll end up with ink in places you don't want ink, and you might ruin your project. Been there, done that. So I just like to advise you, stamp gently. All right. Now to finish the front of the card, what I'm going to do is position my cute little tree. I love pine trees, especially with stamps and die cuts. And I kind of finagle before I glue anything down where I want everything to go. I think I'm going to do that. So since my tree is going to hang off the edge of my card front a little bit, I'm only going to put glue to one side. And then I'll ensure that my card will still open and close, like so. Now I'm going to grab some dimensionals. These are our mini dimensionals. We also have our full-size dimensionals. And once the backing is peeled off of these, this will go on the front as well. And you can use any shape or punch for your sentiment piece, for your decoration, totally up to you. Now just to finish this, I'm going to add some rustic metallic adhesive back dots. These are some of my favorite embellishments because they're great for masculine cards, but they really work for any card at all. They coordinate with so many different things. I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool and my piercing tool end to just add a couple of our rustic dots to the card front. They're sticking to my fingers tonight. There we go. So the card front is done, and now I'm quickly going to finish the inside. To do that, I'm going to take a piece of basic white. Remember, you can't use a full panel because our card is a little bit narrow on the inside with that strip of designer series paper. So 5 1/4 inches tall by 2 3/4 inches wide. And I'm going to grab my Stampin' Pierce mat because the accent stamp I want to use on my inside piece and my envelope is photopolymer. So it's clear, it doesn't have that built-in cushion, but I can see through it to line things up, which is perfect for this stamp set I'm about to show you. I have soft succulent ink, and I'm going to repeat, stamping gently, tapping. I can look and see if I've got adequate ink coverage or not. And then 1, 2, 3. I'm going to repeat on my envelope. And now I'm going to come back with Evening Evergreen ink, same ink I used on the front of the card, and a detail stamp. And since it's photopolymer and I can see through it, I can line it up and check out just how it little jazzes up a little bit that image. I love it. Okay, so ink is closed. Put the mat away. I just realized I stamped my envelope upside down. Oh well. If that's the worst thing that happens today. A little adhesive on the back. And this gets lined up on the inside of the card. A little bit of a border around the edge. And there is my quick and simple thank you card with a little bit of a fun fold effect. And I liked that card so much, I actually made it in another color. So this one is soft succulent, this one is old olive, but same idea. You can see very easy to mass produce if you want to, because you can use a small amount of designer series paper on your cards. And I have some more ideas to show you as well. I wanted to just show you that this is a jumping off point. You are not tied into using the banner in designer series paper and all. You can mix and match, change it up to your heart's content. So in keeping with the masculine theme, I have a birthday card. This is using the He's the Man suite, which is in our new annual catalog. Definitely a car theme for this one. I have the strip of designer series paper on the inside that has the classic cars. I added a piece of designer series paper to the front of the card, along with my border piece, a stamped image on a die cut, more of those rustic embellishments, and then a quick and simple birthday card. You can also change up the design as far as your banner goes if you want. It does not have to be a wide banner. You can add a thin cardstock banner if you like. For this one, I did not add the cardstock strip for that little added effect. I simply used a piece of designer series paper, slightly narrower than the front of the card. Fussy cut my image from some of the designer series paper. This is another celebration item. And for the inside of the card, I added a strip of matching paper, and I carried the theme forward with my envelope flap as well. So a beautiful little card there. Another idea here. On this card, I chose to line up my designer series paper on the far left side of the card, and this piece here is not the added accent piece, it's actually the card base itself. So that kind of provides that border and that little eye-catching effect. And there's that card with a little envelope accent as well. No naked envelopes is my rule. And if you don't like those banners, you can leave them off. This one I decided to forego it. I did add the cardstock strip back in, but simply added some stamped images and some flowers that I die cut from the designer series paper I chose. So quick and simple, lots of options to use for that fun fold card. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed learning how to make this quick and simple card with just a little bit of a change for the card front. If you haven't already, I would love if you would subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can click the notification bell and be notified anytime I post a new video. You can also hop over to Facebook and find me at The Faithful Stamper, and I display different projects there and do Facebook Lives twice a week, and you'll hear about other incentives that the company is offering in case you're interested. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting.